lower that so I can read your lips. Oh, it was way, way cool. I mean, we did the domino stuff in there. I believe we recorded some of Delaney Bonnie stuff in there when we were coming through. And I'm sure with Eric that time. And Stones recorded there with Jimmy Miller producing it. And that's where I Just Want to See His Face took place.
Thank
in
you.
Olympic Studios.
All right.
Yeah, I recorded my first album there too. George on it, and Eric, and Klaus, and Jim Kellner, Bobby Keys, and Jim Price.
Well, do you know anything about the studio equipment at the time?
No, I wouldn't know.
Any of the other musicians have thought about the equipment at the time?
No.
Was Mick paying any attention to the equipment that he was using?
I wasn't paying any attention to any equipment. I mean, they always talk, well, we got a Neve console, or we got the Trident board that we're using, and that kind of thing. And I know that the console, the Trident console, was pretty much a hand-built piece of equipment. Everybody's always proud of their studios, and then we'll go to one studio from Olympic to Trident for a different sound.
Right. You know? Did you have any idea of why the Stones, when they released the single Dandelion and something about I Love You, We Love You, why the sound was so good then?
Probably because of the producer.
Jimmy Miller.
Jimmy Miller. That's when they sounded their best. He was a great producer.
But Jimmy Miller really didn't know much about the electronic side of anything. He just knew what he'd like to hear.
Yeah.
So
he knew equipment and everything like that, you know.
According to some people, what I've read lately, he really didn't know much about equipment. He did my first album. He let the engineers usually do all that.
Album.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he knew what to ask for.
Right. Well, because
he knew what mic that he wanted to put on, what amp and all. I mean, he knew all of that.
Right.
Because he did it.
Well, the equipment in those days, there wasn't such a variety as there is now. And equipment, you can't compare today to what was going on back then. It's a very different thing. And musicians tended to know more about equipment, their own equipment.
Especially microphones. I mean, I knew Neumann.
Right. That's it.
That was it. I knew that was a good mic for my vocals.
You're talking about the U47. I won't get into all that technical stuff because...
You have to get into that technical stuff with somebody else. But I don't know.
I like to know about it, but I don't know a whole lot. I do know that...
Having a knowledge of what something is and what it's supposed to do is great. But you've got to be able to apply it.
Engineers are supposed to be there to help
you. Yeah, they're supposed to be the ones to do it. The producer's supposed to be able to say, this is what I need, and this is what I want. And the engineer can pull that out of his hat.
Right.
He's supposed to know all the really, where the wires go behind the board and that kind of thing.
Because somebody had posed the question, I thought I'd ask you. It was about Olympic Studios.
The room sounded really great.
Of course, the room was good. Yeah.
The room sounded great, just like EMI.
Exactly.
That big giant room can be so intimate, with just a voice and an acoustic guitar.
But then you get people who disagree with that and say that the Beatles had the best sounding recording equipment and all of that.
Well, for the day it was tubes give it all that warmth. Yeah.
But anyway, things were changing so drastically at the time, and then they continue to change. But at that particular time, they were really changing because people were going from 4-track to 8-track to 24-track very quickly. So.
And there were these people that wanted to make better microphones, and they knew how to go about doing it and perfect this and perfect that. New systems, new reverbs, echoes, and all that kind of stuff. So it was really a good time. Like I'm talking about the early 70s,
Well,
late
things
60s,
changed
early
big time.
70s, when things really started coming together, you know. I remember when it was 4 channels, you know. I remember 2-track and cutting records on hit records with a 2-track.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all that stack stuff, and you know, I remember all of that. Then the growth. Then when they went from having the 4 channels, 4 tracks, to an 8-track. 8-track machine sat in the corner for a long time, and then when it came out, the 16 was sitting in the corner for a long time as well, because they really like to keep that particular raw sound and just translate it from one to another, one step to another, you know, technical wise, but keeping that original. And that had to do with the room sound too. You know?
Of course, people were experimenting a lot.
Yeah.
Let me just stop here for a second, okay? I want to
Okay.
get a swig of coffee. All right, thanks. You'll get so many varieties of answers on that particular question about why the sound was so good on that one particular record by the Stones. And, you know, we could say one thing, 10 other people could say something else.
Well, I knew the circumstances under which Jimmy Miller was producing those guys, and he had to make something out of nothing every time. So to be in a studio that was updated was pretty amazing. I mean, Exile on Main Street was recorded in a truck. You know, they had
mobile units at that time.
It was a makeshift mobile unit, and that was what. It wasn't a big deal going down, you know. And Jimmy Miller was the one. I mean, they ran cables in from the back end of that truck into Nelcott, you know.
Right.
Cables going down into the basement, cables going into the dining rooms, cables going into the living room. You know, the band was all split up and separated.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Brian Ahern that started that whole thing. He had a mobile truck that would do the...
Who?
Brian Ahern. He married Emmylou Harris. Anyway...
I don't know, but I'm talking about in England.
I know, but I think that's where it stemmed from.
It was a truck, you know.
Well, there ain't nothing wrong with that. But
no, but I'm saying it was all seat of the pants stuff.
Right.
You know, recorded at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning.
So did Jimmy Miller ever mention to you what it was like recording those guys? Did he ever talk to you about it?
That's what I'm telling you about now.
So he told you
about it? Yeah, he told me all this stuff about how he did things. He was my producer as well, as well as a good friend. So yeah, I was there when all that was going on, you know. And when I watched him make things happen, you know.
Meaning what? Could you just sort of describe what you...
Just to be so in tune with, say, Keith nodding out right before a solo. Jimmy says, just watch this, you know. Watch him come around when I hit this button. When it was time, and he hit record, when this thing was going on, and Keith came alive just like that. He knew that he was getting ready to come around. So, I mean, he really in tune with his artists, even if the artist was not in tune with himself at the moment.
Well, right. From what I gather at the time, and even, I guess that even goes down now, you have to be ready for all that.
Yeah, and he knew the artists, he knew the Stones real well. He knew what everybody was capable of and how to go about recording them.
Right.
You know, because to get everybody in the room at the same time was a chore.
Hang on one second, I got something going on here. Okay, I'm sorry, I forgot to put the mic on the Omni. But when we recorded the thing the other day, Adios 2021, we had the doors wide open, the dogs were barking out there, it was a mess. So there was a lot of noise and external noise, so that's kind of what was going on there.
It just added entertainment to me. That's a little more noise.
Right. So we were talking about Jimmy Miller and the Stones and you. So how did you go? Did you sort of go about the same way of recording your first 2 solo records the same way he would have done the Stones?
Pretty much, yeah. Really basic, flat, everything, nothing, no special, nothing.
Did you have any disagreements with him on how things should be
Never.
done? So you trusted him on. Of
Yeah,
course.
on everything.
Did you like the two records?
Yeah, even more so now because I can appreciate them more than then because see, then I just didn't feel like I knew anything.
Well, as a producer, was he helping you to pick out the songs?
Yeah. We sat down and went through stuff,
Right.
but it's mostly just left it to me because it was all about feeling, you know.
Right.
And and he had the guy his engineer chief guy was Joe Zagarino. Neither of them were around, but Joe knew exactly what Jimmy would be needing and wanting, and had everything set up exactly how Jimmy would do. See, Jimmy was a percussionist. He was a drummer, you know, and can't always get what you want. That's Jimmy on drums.
Right.
You know, and he's the one who got ideas of bringing all the children's choir in and all that stuff.
Well, I don't know, but was he credited for playing on that?
You know, well, I don't know because one time I did reach the credits on the Stones record. I was really disappointed, so I hadn't bothered to look at any since.
Yeah.
Because my name wasn't on it. You know.
Speaking of percussion, there was another question the guy had asked about. He wanted to know if Jim Gordon, and I know, but if he had played the percussion on Bell
backwards tabla.
And he was taught.
Robbie's Shankar's tabla player.
So it was just a quick kind of.
Sat down. Didn't take long for him to look at a horseshoe. I mean, he said the guy Robbie's drummer gave Jim a set of tablas, you know.
Right.
And he sat down. I was standing there when it happened, and he sat down. He said, you know, and Jim Gordon. I mean, you know, all had a lick his finger. He knew how. He was a great percussionist, Jim Gordon. So
you don't really ever hear about him playing percussion much.
He played all the percussion on the. This is so cool. He did all of like shakers, tambourine, little bells, and few other goodies that he would just make up. A shaker made out of beans and a can of beans, and then he would get stools and put them all around. So he had like 3 or 4 stools,
right?
And they all had different things on them. And as the song played through, he played whatever was necessary at that moment. All this went down like fluid, you know, and. So it wasn't even stopping. Let's put the shaker on now, or let's put this on, or let me put a little bell on. Everything was there. I mean, everything.
Which song?
Bell Bottom Blues.
Didn't he also do "I Am Yours" on some stuff?
Yeah, he did all the stuff, all the percussion on all the album.
Right.
All of it. The only stand-in we had was Albie Gluten on piano, and he was kept low and down. I wasn't happy about that, so I fired up the organ, just let it run wide open, the Leslie and all. Turned out that was really good for the song. It was just me pissed off. They're bringing in some piano player. We don't need any more keyboard players.
Do you feel differently about that now?
No.
Hell no. I knew you were going to say no.
Hell no, I don't feel differently. He had no business getting in the middle of our band.
Why was he being brought into that? Who
Oh, everybody, Tom Dowd, you know, thinking he's trying to be the producer. You can't produce what's already produced. We're already together, and we knew what we needed to do. That's why he's executive producer, and we were credited as the producers on the record. Because, in fact, we did do that.
Right.
I relented to have that thing down, but what I did, I just kicked it wide open, my organ. Because he had no business in the studio.
Kind of getting this
treated
energy.
like a band member, and I didn't like it.
Uh-oh. I wasn't going to say that.
No,
okay.
That's what the deal was. They tried to make Carl and Jim and me like we were band members. God damn, you know.
Well, didn't Derek set him straight on that particular?
Derek didn't say much of anything about anything. I mean, when it come to us telling Tom Dowd that we're the producers and he needs to stay behind the glass, Eric said, "You go tell him." I said, "No problem." Yeah, he only came out from behind the glass. But once he tried to give us a chord chart, and I started asking, "What the hell is this?" You know. Then we don't read chord charts, you know.
Right.
Then he come out with some kind of other nonsensical number chart or something, and we don't do that. And I said, he said, "You go tell him that."
Right.
And I did, because I knew Tom, you know, from Stax and American Recorders, and when I told him, he understood completely. So he didn't come back out into the studio itself, but one more time, and that was at the end of all the recordings. And when we did Thorn Tree in the Garden, he came out and adjusted the microphone, moved it about that far.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we really did produce the record. You know.
Well, no doubt about that. Yeah.
No.
All right. Well, cheers. I'm going to get some more of this lovely coffee and put this thing together so I can get it out. Thank you.
Lansky Brothers.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Let me see that. What's that? It's got dragons on it.
Oh yeah, it got dragons on it.
Yeah, lots of dragons. Thank you.